We are now recording. Again, reminder, just everybody, if you can, try to keep your end muted. Q&A will be at the end of this. I would like to first thank Dawn for taking her time out and giving this presentation for us. I think this is very valuable information for now while, we are at home, to pass along to our student athletes, as well for our student athletes to learn after the fact when they come back and we go back to what our normal may look like. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Dawn. Everyone should be able to see the PowerPoint presentation. We'll be clicking through and look forward to the information. Thanks again, Dawn.
Wonderful, thank you. We're the duo today. Paul's helping me flip the slides as I present. So I really appreciate this opportunity. My name's Dawn Weatherwax with Sports Nutrition to Go. I'm a sports dietitian and also an athletic trainer, and have had my sports nutrition business for over 20 years. I work with recreational to professional athletes and people who just want to get healthy. My focus today is to cover 3 areas. Is 1, what % sports nutrition enhances performance? 2 are tips that we can utilize as early as tomorrow to maximize this %. And 3 are roadmaps of athletes of their outcomes by applying these tips. So next. So first and foremost is that the sports nutrition piece can enhance performance up to 15%. I will share with you, I believe that it could be more than that, because if you're working with middle school or junior high, grade school, it does make a difference how you fuel. And I have a lot of data and a lot of testing that we do. And I can definitely share with you from a growth perspective, a height perspective, and a performance perspective, it does make a difference at each age. So 1 year builds on to another year. Next. So this is just a study that they did on high school athletes. And basically it said, okay, high schoolers, tell me how well you think you're eating and give yourself a grade. And they gave themselves a B, and the same information was provided to someone like myself, a sports dietitian, and the B was changed to an F. So there's a huge disconnect on how fuel and feeding and eating and hydrating affects our performance. Next. So this was just a testimonial of a basketball player that I was working with. A lot of skipping meals, a lot of just not taking opportunities to fuel when provided, and getting good, optimizing, making better choices. And by getting enough fuel or calories and getting enough energy in and at the right times, this was an athlete that literally put on 25 pounds of lean weight in 5 months. The average male can put on a half to 1 pound of muscle a week if they do the nutrition and the training at the same time once they're in puberty. Next. So at my office, we have a bod pod and a metabolism device that measures things. So my body composition, my bod pod is that egg-shaped like chamber up to the left, and it can fit up to 500 pounds and up to 7'2". So that's probably the majority of our athletes out there can fit in there. Now it's air displacement. Anybody who has a wrestling program, I am also a master assessor for wrestling, and I can appeal and do skin folds, and I can also do the appeal process with the bod pod. Now, why is knowing body composition important? Because we want to know how much lean weight that you physically have. If I know how much lean weight you physically have, then I know how much protein to recommend. And then also a roadmap on where you can go, because a lot of athletes, especially in high school, do not come close to maximizing their potential and potential of many things. But if I'm not sure if you can see me or not, but I have my pound of muscle with me. And so if I know your lean weight, then I know how much protein you need. This also starts to say, hey, when you're working with your strength coach or you're talking to your coach, it starts to say, I might say, hey, based on the data, we really want to gain 15 pounds of muscle and lose 10 pounds of fat to be a better athlete. So it's not just about lean weight, but it gives us an idea of what we need to do to accomplish to hit the goals that maybe people have, instead of just saying, well, just eat, or just eat better. This now gives you a roadmap on where to go and what to get out of all your hard work in the weight room and lifting and with all your training. Second is metabolism. We actually measure how many calories you burn. But for instance, the average male athlete in high school needs 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day to maximize their growth and performance. And the average high school female athlete needs 2,200 to 3,500 calories a day. Now, you might be asking, okay, I don't have access to these things. Well, I will share with you from a body composition. A lot of your athletic trainers do have the skin folds because they are assessors for wrestling. So not to try to make more work for your athletic trainers, but you might be surprised that is something that you can utilize. And then there are scales that they're not as accurate, but they give you an idea of body composition. Second is, how much am I fueling? There's a lot of apps out there now that are free. Nutritionist, Nutritionix. There's MyFitnessPal, and you just log what you're eating. You can scan a lot of your stuff in, and you can see what you're eating. Now, we on average eat the same 20 or 30 foods every day or weekly. We don't veer too much unless we're forcing ourselves to veer. So it's not hard after you commit to this for a week or so to say, hey, she said I needed anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 units of energy or calories or 22 to 35, and this is where I'm at. Now, it does make a difference on what you eat. So just eating isn't going to be good enough. But I feel like just understanding how much we're fueling, you would be surprised, 75% of athletes across the board chronically undereat or don't eat the right stuff. So it's an issue for everyone. Next. Now at my office, I have a thing called MUSCLESOUNDE, and MUSCLESOUNDE measures the fuel in your muscle. Now, I'm one of the few in Ohio that has this device. I think there's one other doctor and that's it. But I've had it for 2 years. And why is this important? And again, if you can see my model, this is my muscle. And inside the muscle, and then we have our pound of fat. So here's my pound of fat, and here's my pound of muscle. And I always laugh because people always tell me muscle weighs more than fat. But let's do our math. Does a pound weigh more than a pound? And obviously, a pound does not weigh more than a pound. But from a volume perspective, it takes out 1 pound of fat. It takes about 2.5 pounds of muscle take up the same space as 1 pound of fat. So this is why knowing body composition is really important. 2 is, where do you think you store your precious fuel? Do you think you store it in the fat? Well, what we get from fat is just energy from it, which is important. But when we're talking carbs and protein, we store that in the muscle. And if you want to build muscle, you want to recover and repair, not be as sore, not be as tired, to go at it the next day just as hard. This is where our fuel is stored. So why this is important is I wanted to share with you, this is where we store carbs, and this is where we store protein. And that's why it's important to understand the fuel source. Next. So we go right into tips. And we know that, just for instance, we need to eat breakfast. Now, when school starts, all of us have the opportunity to eat breakfast. And so here's the thing, you got to take advantage of these opportunities. What I have found is a lot of times we do not take advantage of eating breakfast because we don't understand if we skip breakfast, our afternoon performance will decline up to 5%. Okay. Now, as athletes, we are not our parents. So if our parents are just drinking coffee, or they're choosing not to eat, or they're doing something different with their nutrition, they are not growing individuals. They are not growing taller. They're not going through puberty. So what's for them is not what's for the athlete. 2 is, if you need 3,000, or let's do the 2,200 to 5,000 calories a day, if you skip breakfast, Imagine you're probably the 75% of athletes that chronically undereat, because think of when school's back in session, you skip breakfast, and then what? How are you going to get 2/3 of your energy by the time 2/3 your day is over? So meaning you should have 2,000, if you need 3,000 units of energy by 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you should have consumed 2,000 units of energy. If you skip breakfast, good luck with that, because this normal school lunch provides 500 to 800 calories. And then if you don't bring an afternoon snack, you can see where your athletes are heading into practice well underfueled. So take advantage, get your breakfast. 2 is if you have a finicky stomach, I always say do something light. This could be a liquid. This could be a sports drink, even though I'm not big on those. It could be a piece of fruit, something like that if you have a finicky stomach, or a piece of dried toast to go, or a bagel. Now, the thing with breakfast, and I hate to admit it because I like better choices than not, is it's better to eat something than nothing at all. So if you're going to pick those Pop-Tarts, that's better than nothing at all. Or if you're going to pick that Frosted Flakes or Cocoa Puffs instead of the regular Cheerios or regular Corn Flakes, that's, again, I'm going to have to say, well, yep, it is better than nothing at all. So let's take advantage of that. So again, if we skip breakfast, our afternoon performance will decline up to 5%. And as we know, academics always comes first, and eating breakfast fuels our day and fuels the brain. Next. Now, the next thing, if possible, is to eat a minimum 4 times a day to 6 times a day. Here's the thing. Breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, stuff like that. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand, and you do the best that you can with the things that you have at your disposal. But what's happening is why is timing more important? Why skipping is not good is because understand the muscle acts like a sponge. So again, I have my pound of muscle, and think of it as a sponge, and it can only soak up so much protein at one time. And to maximize our protein and to maximize recovery, building, and repairing muscle tissue, we need to get the protein throughout the day. Now, let's pretend that everybody on this call or your athletes weigh 100 pounds. And also we're going to put a disclaimer that they don't have any kidney or medical issues, that they would have any problems with the protein that I'm recommending. 99% of people don't, but if somebody has kidney issues or something of that sort, then this would not be appropriate for them. They would have to take that to their health professional. But let's pretend that all of us we weigh 100 pounds, so we need 100 grams of protein a day. And then let's do our math. Let's eat 4 times a day. That means we need 25 grams of protein 4 times a day. Now, 25 grams of protein is about the size of a deck of cards, a bigger deck of cards. So deck of cards are roughly 3 to 4 ounces. So that is 3 to 4 eggs, okay? Or 2 egg sandwiches in the morning. It could be 12 ounces of milk. So at least if you had 2 cartons of milk and an egg sandwich, or 1 carton of milk and an egg sandwich for breakfast, that will work. Yogurts, especially more Greek yogurts, could work. Now, nuts, seeds, and peanut butter are really not a great protein source. So if you did peanut butter and jelly for breakfast, if we can get a good glass of milk or soy milk for those who might be lactose intolerant, those could work for you to get the protein. Now, let's go back to my thing when I said I'd rather you eat something than nothing at all, because it does help us. But let's go to that choice of a Pop-Tart. The Pop-Tart is not high in protein. So what happens is that when you get to lunchtime, you might say, Dawn, I'm going to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch. That's turkey. And I'm going to eat a turkey sandwich and a Greek yogurt, or I'm going to eat a turkey sandwich and drink 1 or 2 or 16 ounces of milk or soy milk. Or if you think of the milk cartons, drink 2 cartons of milk and a turkey sandwich or the protein option. And I will say, well, you know what? That's awesome. We're calorically going to get back on track, but your muscle's like a sponge and it can only soak up so much protein at one time. So when you skip breakfast, or you don't get the protein at breakfast, you don't get that opportunity back. And so that's what athletes don't understand is they're working so hard to perform well, but then they're wondering why they're not getting bigger or more muscular or maybe leaner or getting to their goals. And the body is like, look, I can't recover and repair properly. And I'm going to be more sore. I'm going to be more fatigued. And so that's where getting the protein appropriately throughout the day is extremely important. Now, protein shakes can work. Boost, Ensure, they do make them with 20 grams of protein. Protein bars, Gatorade Whey bars, Cliff Builder bars. So if you have people donating to your program, start being more specific on what you want donated. Maybe you get cases of Boost that are 20 grams of protein. Maybe you get cases of Ensure that has 20 grams of protein. Maybe you get Cliff Builder bars or Gatorade Whey bars. So that way after school, they could have that. So you have, for instance, I'm going to walk you through a day. We have an egg sandwich for breakfast. We have a turkey sandwich for lunch with milk. We have a 20-gram protein bar or smoothie right after school, and then our dinner. And that's how you can make that work. So be creative with your resources, and also know that milk and eggs go a long way if we don't have those types of sensitivities. Now, here's the deal. 58% of athletes across the board don't have enough protein. 36% do not have enough protein for lunch, and 8% do not eat enough protein for dinner. Now, if you're vegetarian or vegan, your options can also be soy nuts, edamame, veggie burgers, Evolve, no cow bars, Garden of Life bars are all great sources of protein to get into your diet. Next. So we need to eat breakfast. We need to eat 4 to 6 times a day. And we got to do better with the choices that are provided for us. So here's the thing. If we have the opportunity, we want to fit the middle plate. And I know that's not always accessible, but we do the best we can, because what I have found is a lot of times things are available, but we choose not to make those choices. So we really want our protein throughout the day with some fruit, a vegetable, and some starch. So that could be rice, potatoes, bread, those types of things could work. Now, let's go back to school lunch. Pending what you have choices. Now, they have to follow a certain protocol, but hopefully we're not still doing pizza and fries as a lunch choice. It should be a pizza, salad, and a banana and some milk. You hear a big difference there, even if you had a slice of pizza. But I get a lot of athletes that just eat the main course and they don't eat the sides, or they prefer foods that are not ideal, and they skip the vegetable and they skip the fruit, and they just would rather eat the pizza or the breaded chicken sandwich and not optimize the other things. The other things are your fruits and vegetables are imperative for immune system, fatigue, and recovery. So they're not calorically dense, they're nutrient dense. And I always say we treat food like it's a party. Like we have to love everything we eat versus, you know what? I know eating this is good for me. And it might not be my favorite, but I know that at the end of the day, I'm going to be better for it. I'm going to optimize my height. I'm going to optimize my growth, and I'm going to optimize my performance. So getting back to the basics, and one of my tricks is, if you're a picky eater, is eat the things that you don't like first, and then eat the things you like the most last. For example, if I said, hey, would you like an apple? And you eat the apple, and then I'll go, oh, would you like some ice cream now? A lot of people might go for that. But if I said, hey, would you like some ice cream? And you eat that, and then I follow up in that, oh, would you like an apple now? Very few people are going to be like, are you kidding me? I don't want an apple after I just ate ice cream. So it's the same thing with taste buds. Eat what you don't like first, and then you move on. Next slide. So we eat breakfast, we eat every 3 to 4 hours, we try to get our protein throughout the day, and we really try hard to eat enough before afternoon, if possible. So We want 2/3 of our energy by the time 2/3 our day is done. And as coaches, this is a great learning opportunity. If you did a logging exercise on one of these apps and just look at how much fuel, I mean, just how many calories or how much fuel they have consumed before they came and saw you today. I don't expect as coaches, you're not a sports dietitian, but just asking them, did you eat breakfast today? Did you eat lunch today? You know, how much, when you logged, did you eat at least 2/3 by 2/3? So 2/3 of your energy by the time 2/3 your day is over. So that could fit any shift, that could fit any job, and that can fit any athlete and their school schedule. Next. So we eat breakfast, we eat every 3 to 4 hours, we eat 2/3 by 2/3, we are open to variety, and we limit the freebies. Freebies are cheats. They are things that are high in sugar. They are fried foods. Fried foods are roughly 50% fat. So keep in mind that if you're doing that, or you eat at Cane's, or you eat at Popeyes, or you eat that fried chicken with the fries at Chick-fil-A, you're eating 50% fat on the sandwich, 50% fat on the waffle fries, and then you drink lemonade, you're eating 99% sugar or drinking it. And you're wondering why you're not getting the goals that you thought you should. And so here's the thing. We want to limit the freebies to 1 a day or 7 a week or a couple of meals a week. And I always get, well, this is hard to do. And I'm like, if you have money, or your parents are taking you to this place of fast food, you have an opportunity to order better. Like at Chick-fil-A, a grilled chicken sandwich is the same cost as a breaded chicken sandwich. And so you just have to order it. If you went to Wendy's, believe it or not, if you got the large chili with a plain baked potato, that is very nutritious, and you can put the chili on top of the baked potato. You can even go for 2 baked potatoes, and I think the cost on that is about $5. So you could do something like that to maximize this. But this is where I was talking about breakfast. If you can choose between regular Cheerios and Frosted Flakes, well, Frosted Flakes is a freebie versus regular Cheerios or Corn Flakes are not. So this is where, when you eat a lot of added sugar, it loves to create inflammation. And I kid you not, even my leanest athletes that I've worked with will have a lower body fat just by the food choices that they select, and minimizing fried foods and minimizing high sugary foods. So Little Debbie's, okay, honey buns, those types of products that we can easily get our hands on anywhere at any place. Next. So we want to eat breakfast. We want to eat every 3 to 4 hours. We limit our freebies. And I wanted to throw in some athletes that I've worked with. I kid you not, some of my best athletes get better by fueling better. So this was an athlete who actually has the chance to go to the Olympics, and that got prolonged for a year. So actually that works out better for my athlete. But I kid you not, by just incorporating enough protein, enough fuel at the right times that I designed for her, she gained 2 pounds of lean weight. Her fuel source in her muscles, so the muscle sound, it measures fuel. So you want 80% fuel in your muscles, and the average athlete is at 30%, 30. And I want you at 80% to 100%. And she was at 25%. And now we have her averaging 70 to 90%. And she took 4 seconds off her 400 IM and 10 seconds off her 800 IM. So apply that to any sport that you want to improve speed, which is pretty much almost every sport. I don't know golf. When the AD was talking about their golfing tournament, I don't think it matters how fast you run from hole to hole. So golf is probably one of the few that doesn't matter how fast you are. But most sports, if you're faster, you're a better athlete. So this just shows you just fueling better affects your speed. Next. So we eat breakfast, eat every 3 to 4 hours. We get our protein throughout the day. We limit our freebies to 1 a day or 7 a week or a couple of meals a week. And we hydrate, okay? Here's the deal. If you're 1% dehydrated, performance declines up to 12%. So think about that. If you're 1% dehydrated, performance declines up to 12%. Now, 66% of your athletes show up to practice or competition already 1% dehydrated. Now, they might say they're not thirsty. Well, here's the problem with going by thirst. If they're thirsty, they're 2 to 4% dehydrated. And so you're in trouble if they're thirsty, because then they're going to be slower. They're not going to have as much power. Their brain and their focus is compromised, and they're more apt to get injured. And you're wondering, and you're looking at them like, I don't know what's going on with you guys, gals, but you just don't look the same out there. You look lethargic. Where's the umph? And so it affects power, speed, body composition, and outcome. Now, what also it affects is your eyesight. A really cool research study showed if you're 2% dehydrated, your ability to track an object decreases by 20%, 20. So think about that. If you play baseball and this baseball is coming at you, you play lacrosse. Now you have to hit the golf ball, so you have to watch that thing. 95% of your first movement is controlled by eyesight. So hydration affects, do you go left? Do you go right? Do you pass? Do you kick? Do you shoot? What are you doing? So it's imperative that we're hydrated. But again, 66% of our athletes come to practice or performing at a dehydrated state. And if you're thirsty, you're 2 to 4% dehydrated. So what's the tips here? We want at least half of our weight in fluid ounces a day, plus 1 per activity. Okay, so half of our weight in fluid ounces a day, plus 1 per activity. So if you have a 200-pound lineman, or it could be a lineman at a smaller school, but you have a 200-pound athlete, that's 100 fluid ounces that they should be consuming a day. Now, plus 1 means per activity. A strength training workout in the morning, if you weigh more than 100 pounds, means another 20 ounces. If they weigh less than 100 pounds, it's another 10 ounces. Now, I will share with you, I have just came up with those numbers on my own. There's not a research article that says this specifically, but I feel like I had to come up with something to help coaches and individuals to quantify how much they need to fuel and hydrate, because some athletes sweat a lot and they need way more than what I just said. But keep that in mind. 10 to 20 ounces per activity. Now, as you know, if you play soccer and it's humid, they might definitely need more than 20 ounces in that game or that practice if it's humid. So that's where there's a flaw in my system. But again, half of your weight in fluid ounces a day. Now, what counts? Water. Now, this is where there's no excuse not to properly hydrate, especially now, because you can go to the bathroom. You don't even have to worry about the schooling because they're not at school. So some of those athletes that say, well, I don't like to go to the bathroom at school, or I don't have time. Now it's like, well, now they don't have that excuse, but get in the habit now. Half of your weight in fluid ounces a day. So water, unsweetened iced tea, milks, nut milks, all count. Now juice can count, but I don't like a lot of it. Sports drinks do count, but I really only like sports drinks around activity. Okay, I'm not really big on drinking it for breakfast and lunch and snack, but it can count. And so that's how you get those fluids. If you have an athlete or you're an athlete and you cramp, 9 times out of 10, when you cramp up, it's lack of fluid and or salt, not bananas. And I can actually test how much salt you lose per pound, so I know that for a fact. So if you have athletes that cramp, that's why when they say, oh, pickle juice works, well, now you know why, because it's fluid and salt. So there you go on the hydration piece. Next, so we eat breakfast, we hydrate, we limit our freebies. And here is an athlete, a soccer athlete, very lean individual. Now, an average male should be 8 to 12% body fat. If football and linemen, those are a little bit different. And females should anywhere, like that's very athletic, is 18 to 22%. Now, for a health perspective, as adults, as coaches, as males, we want to be at 20%, but not higher than 20%. And for females, we don't want to be higher than 30% for health. Now, this athlete was told, he was actually got accepted into going to college, and the coach said, well, we want you at 12% body fat. He was like, I have no idea where I'm at. So he was at 13.6, and he wasn't eating enough. He wasn't getting enough protein and eating a lot of freebies. And I want you to look at the dates, because I know this says 2016, but this was so crazy. He changed his nutrition, followed what I guided him, and literally in 6 weeks, body fat went down to 10%. So he dropped 3% body fat, or 2.5% body fat in 3 weeks, and lost 7 pounds of fat and maintained his lean just by changing his nutrition. The training stayed the same. Next. So we eat every 3 to 4 hours. We watch our freebies. We hydrate properly. And now we got to have recovery nutrition. Recovery nutrition is for those who strength train, or they have a very intense workout for 60 minutes or longer, or the workout is longer than 2 hours. This is when we need a post-recovery snack. Now, we need the snack within 30 to 45 minutes after our activity, and it needs to comprise, again, if we're over 100 pounds, 20 grams of protein and 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates. If we weigh under 100 pounds, I'd say I want it to comprise a minimum of 10 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbohydrates. Now, let's make this very easy. This is 10 to 20 ounces of chocolate milk, or 10 to 20 ounces of soy milk. So if you're looking for things to be donated, or you're trying to fundraise, or your boosters, soy or chocolate milk is really easy to get funded for, and it works very well because most kids do well with it because it's a liquid. But other options work. Your 20-gram Cliff Builder bars or your 20-gram Gatorade Whey bars, those both have 20 grams of protein and almost 60 grams of carbs. You might ask yourself, what about white milk? Well, white milk, if you do 20 ounces of white milk, has 20 grams of protein, but only has about 30 grams of carbs. So for those who need more closer to 60, you need to add like 20 ounces of milk with 1 large banana. That could work. You could do a Greek yogurt and some fruit, and that would fit. So you got to be creative here. But here's the issue. If you do not get this opportunity, your muscle's like a sponge, and it can only soak up so much. We've talked about that. Skipping, we don't maximize. Now, here's another thing about recovery, rebuilding, and repairing muscle tissue is, again, remember what I said about the muscle sound, is this precious muscle stores our protein and our carbohydrates. So when we work out, we are pulling protein out of the muscle and into the bloodstream. We are taking the carbs out of the muscle and into the bloodstream. So the body is saying, okay, you also gave me some fat to work out, but after the workout, I don't want to replace the fat. I want to replace the protein and the carbohydrates. So can you please give me this 10 to 20 grams of protein and 30 to 60 grams of carbs within 30 to 45 minutes after the activity? And then the athlete might say, well, I forgot it. I didn't bring it. I'm not hungry. So guess what happens? Let's pretend that they eat dinner 2 hours later and they say to me, I promise I'll do my 20 ounces of milk at my dinner time to get that back in. And I'll say, you know what? I'm really sorry, but you missed another opportunity, because there's a timing on it where the body's nice and hot. Think of it as a car all warmed up. And the minute you turn off the key, it starts to cool down. And when it's finally cooled, it says, I'm sorry, it's going to take me a lot longer to warm back up again. So when you don't do it at that point, you will not get it all back into the muscle. And so you missed another opportunity. You skip breakfast, you missed an opportunity. You don't eat 4 to 5 to 6 times a day, you missed an opportunity. You don't get the protein throughout the day, you missed an opportunity. You don't get enough fuel, you missed an opportunity. You don't get recovery nutrition, you just missed another opportunity. So just keep in mind. Now, if you're going to go have a snack or go have a dinner or a lunch, within 30 to 45 minutes, you do not need a post-recovery snack and a meal, okay? So that is not mandatory to fit those guidelines. Next. Now, this was my baseball player. I will share with you, this baseball player loved Flaming Cheetos. He ate a $4.99 bag of Flaming Cheetos every night before he went to bed. That is 16 freebies, and that wasn't the only freebies that he had a day. And I kid you not that I've never known that fat, unless you're too low in fat, we need fat to live. But I've never known fat to be able to pitch further or to hit harder or to be fast, okay? So he's 19%, and I would like him between 8 and 12% body fat. And his lean weight, he was weighing 166, and his lean weight was actually low. Look, from September to December, by just eating better, getting the freebies to 1 a day, getting the protein, getting enough fuel, not eating like it's a party, he literally dropped 9% body fat and put on 19 pounds of lean weight. And the only thing that changed was the nutrition. The training was already in place. I see this all the time. And I always say to people, I cannot play your sport for you, and I cannot be your sports psychologist. But when we get changes like this, you will be a better athlete and you have a better chance of reaching your health and performance goals. Next. So here's a golf athlete for those who have golf. Again, not eating enough. Oh gosh, a lot of coaches make a big mistake by just putting a lot of fluff as snacks in the cart. We need to put substance in the cart, in the coolers for these athletes. If they want to eat freebies, then let them buy them. If they're hungry, they'll eat the banana or the apple or the fruit strips, or they'll eat the turkey sandwich, because golf, you can get away with eating solid food without upsetting your stomach. Again, just wanted to show you, dropped 4% body fat, lost 7 pounds of fat, gained 8 pounds of lean weight just over the summer. Next. Sleep. All right, so we eat breakfast, we eat every 3 to 4 hours, we watch our freebies, we hydrate properly, we get post-recovery, and we need to get enough sleep. If your athletes are getting less than 8 hours of sleep a night, they just increase their odds of injury by 61%. Again, if athletes get less than 8 hours of sleep a night, especially, and I'm talking high school or less, and they increase their odds of injury by 61%. If they don't eat properly or work on eating just general recommendations, they just increase their odds of injury by 64%. Next slide. If you have a hard time clicking through, Now, on this slide, what's really fascinating about this slide, and this is really cool, coaches and athletes, to start setting this goal. I want you to think about this. If you can complete 86% of your trainings, you're 7 times more likely to reach your performance goals. So think of that as coaches as you're setting your goals for your athletes. Keep an eye on that. How many completed 86% of their trainings? Now, 30% of athletes get injured. That take them out of that 86%. And we know sleep and hydration and nutrition plays a huge part in that factor. Some injuries are just flukes, and that's just the way it is. And then 50% get sick. That take them out of that 86%. If you do not sleep enough, you weaken your immune system. If you do not sleep enough, you will not optimally grow and recover, and you're more apt to get injured and have soreness. If you did not eat properly, you're going to be low in fuel and not recover properly. So think about that. only 20% of your athletes will complete 86% of their training. So it's a good rule for all of us to see us get better in that aspect. Next. So I do get athletes who have goals to be in history in the high school, in the middle school. Hey, I want to break the junior high record. I want to break the middle school record. I want to break the high school record. And that's a pretty cool thing to do because they're going to be in history forever if they do that. And then you get some that have the capability of wanting to play at a higher level. And I just want to show you just some statistics on how hard it is to play your sport in college. And then imagine the ones that say, I would like to play pro. Now take that percent and make it, like 0.5%. Or even less than that, get to play at an elite level. So you got to maximize every year and you start now. Next. So this is just another chart of all the athletes out there, female and male. What percent would you need that gets that opportunity? Next. Now, here's my lineman. So for those of you, I do road maps for athletes. I work with people all over the world. I actually have a client in Spain and UK and Canada. But a lot of this stuff can be done by the phone. But because I'm local, I am available. But this was a lineman, 6'4" at age 14. Can you imagine having a 6'4", 14-year-old that weighs 278 pounds in 8th grade? They do exist. The scary part is this athlete was 34% body fat, which is technically morbidly obese in 8th grade and already had borderline high blood pressure. The average offensive or defensive lineman in college, 20% of them already show signs of heart disease. That means they are showing heart disease signs at age 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. We have a duty to help these athletes, not just because they're big. They need to know how much lean weight they need to go. So just to share with you, he was burning about 2,400 calories at rest, which means the calories you burn if you just sleep 24 hours a day, and he needed at least 3,500 calories. Muscle Sound was only at 45%, want him at 80%, eating all the wrong things, tons of freebies. But I wanted to show you this roadmap of where this athlete could finish high school and what we could do to change these lives of these people. It doesn't matter if they play a sport. What's going to optimize is when they're done, they've created good eating habits, they've optimized their growth, and they set their future up for a long time. Just think of where your health is right now. Where would you be if you had this knowledge? So when his body fat's 278 and he had 199 pounds of lean weight. The average offensive lineman at the collegiate level needs 217 pounds of lean weight. So this athlete, I already knew, needed 18 more pounds of lean weight just to fit the norm. So then the next year he was at 214. Body fat went from the first year down to 26. Then it went down, or 28. Then it went down to 23. And then now he's at 229. He's at 17%. And then he's 244 and his weight didn't change. Now, what type of athlete do you think that's going to be? If the opportunity to play the sport past college, holy moly, he's got an unbelievable opportunity, but he's also just created a whole nother person of extreme health. Next. My baseball road map, 16-year-old sophomore, 6'1". Again, he was actually 36% body fat. Total weight, 214. Too much body fat. So what we did is we created a roadmap for him. And this is what he accomplished with eating the right things at the right times. Junior year, total weight was 185. We got leaner. And then we also put on 9 pounds of muscle. He went down to 21% body fat within a year. Then you build on top of that, and by the time he's ready, his senior year, he went from 36% body fat down to 13. And what's impressive is his lean weight went from 136 to 165 in lean weight. So he has more lean weight and weighs less, but he has 30 more pounds behind his hitting and his pitching. That is phenomenal. that outcome, and then getting ready for college. Next. Volleyball. Again, this athlete did not have enough lean weight. She was underweight. I will share with you with my female coaches. Females get underlooked in the aspect of lifting. They are in puberty at the middle school. Every school, I see the males and the male coaches making sure that the male athletes get in the weight room. And then I don't see it, and there's coaches that do get their females in the weight room, but it's not with the same degree of emphasis, not even close. We need to get our ladies learning how to lift in the weight room. That's how they're going to gain lean weight. That's how they're going to be a better individual as health and performance. And so this was a person where, again, lots of stress fractures, not eating enough, did not have a normal menstrual cycle, because if you do not eat enough, usually sometimes you do not have a normal menstrual cycle. And here's the thing about that. A lot of doctors will say, well, that's normal. Female athletes are known that they just work out a lot and they're very active. And if it is calorically driven and not medically driven, then how in the world is this is valuable? It's insane, because think about it. If the body has to shut down a system because there's not enough fuel, how do you think it affects their performance? Second of all, is when you pull away that system, they start to lose bone mass. So it's not a good thing. I even had an 18-year-old cross-country runner who went to Xavier University, and the athletic trainers found out she did not have a menstrual cycle ever. They did a bone scan on her, and she already had bone loss in her hips and her spine. Now, you have to understand that we only can gain bone up till age 25 to 30, which is mainly our population. We have to maximize bone mass. So and I can tell you with that Xavier athlete, all she needed was 500 extra calories. She was eating 2,500 calories a day. We needed to bump her up to 3,000, and that's all it took for everything to run smoothly. So just again, some numbers for you. Next. So what are our everyday goals? We eat breakfast. We drink half of our weight in fluid ounces a day plus 1 per activity. We eat at least 4 to 6 times a day. We have fruit, a vegetable at every meal if possible, a protein, a carb, and a fat. Not always for snacks, but we need the protein throughout the day, 2/3 by 2/3. We need recovery nutrition within 20 to 30 minutes of our proper protein and carb grams. And we need to limit the freebies a day. We need to get I like 9 to 11 hours of sleep. And now there's no excuse for that for now. And then obviously no drugs or alcohol. Next. Now, this was somebody who ran an 800 meter. I want to share with you, this girl was almost 6 foot tall. And we did body composition, metabolism, and muscle sound. She was eating only 2,200 calories a day. We projected she needed 3,500 calories a day. She was not eating enough protein. Also, she was afraid to lift weights. And based on her body composition, I'm like, you need more muscle mass. You are low, you are underweight, and you do not have enough muscle. And so she took the faith and listened to me. And this girl put on, I think, 8 pounds of muscle. She weighed more, but was leaner, and she took 10 seconds off her time in the 800 meters. That's how this stuff works. Next. Now I have a linebacker. Again, a lot of people have big dreams, not eating enough. What was cool about this athlete is he was a senior in high school, and it was in January, and nobody was offering him anywhere to go play. And he said, Dawn, I would just like to go play anywhere, because he did have the schooling and he had the grades to get in. To fast forward, gave him all the right tools. He did all the hard work. He ended up making it to a Division I football program. He changed his 40 from a 4.8 to a 4.47. Now think about that. And literally from January to June, he went from a 4.87 to a 4.47 40. That doesn't lift some eyebrows. That's what got him, that's what also got him a scholarship. He ended up not having anywhere to go. And in June, somebody offered him a full ride scholarship to play, which is almost unheard of. And the reason why they could offer that was somebody backed out. And then they are like, you are somebody we want. And he put on 15 pounds of lean weight. So he had the size, he had the speed, and he had the skill. And just by changing his nutrition. Next. Everybody's always looking for free resources. Gatorade at this point gets good praise, gets bad praise, but Gatorade Sports Science Institute, not Gatorade.com, but Gatorade Sports Science Institute is a free resource to coaches. They have free handouts for you. As athletes, it's great information of research around the world for free. So if you're looking for stuff on calcium and protein and bone health and optimizing recovery, the skies are the limits with Gatorade Sports Science Institute and research around the world. Next. You guys, I just want to finalize and we'll open it up for questions. I'll let Paul tell me what your questions are. But if there's one thing you walk away with is that the sports nutrition piece enhances your health and performance. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great and healthy day.
Great. Thank you, Dawn. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, feel free, throw them in the chat box.
Thanks, Andrew. Andrew put it. Thank you, Alex. Any questions? Anything for your athletes?
Well, it sounds like, doesn't look like anybody has any questions.
Wow. I did such a great job.
If you do, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on that last page of the presentation was contact info for Dawn. So maybe you could reach out and shoot her something that way. Appreciate everybody jumping on here, taking your time and getting in. I think this is really good information. Thanks again to Dawn for coming and giving us this information. I think it's phenomenal for the time that we're in, knowing and having smart, a plan that we can do at home. But I think this, even going forward, is going to be a great opportunity for us to teach our athletes more of what they should be doing when they do get back into school. Maurice saw your email. I know this is going to be shared on social media, and it's going to be put into the coach and AD drive as well, so you'll be able to access it there on the internet website. But again, if nobody has any questions, I guess we are wrapping up. Thanks again, and thanks everybody for coming in.
Thank you, guys.